Hey, Sad.
Yeah.
You know that band Huey Lewis and the News?
Vaguely, yeah. I
Yeah.
think we met at a concert once, yeah.
Yeah. Did you know that they named, the part of their name that is the news, they named it after us? And of course,
Oh,
because,
really?
oh, yeah, because, there's no better news than news of the maximum variety. Unless, maybe if you're the infinite variety, but then there wouldn't be the pun. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Maximum News. Got some good news to share with you this week. For the first time in a while, I think the majority of the stuff that we're talking about. God damn it. There's a goddamn fly flying around in front of my face. I had to smack it. Majority of the stuff that we're talking about this week is actually positive, and we're going to be starting off the show with one of those positive pieces of news. Going to get through it very quickly. It's just a release date, but of course, the release date that we're talking about is the one for God of War Ragnarok. We know when it's coming out. It's official, November 9th, 2022. Now I have a timeline for when I have to finish the one that came before it. Yeah, I've only ever played like the first 10 to 15 hours of the most recent God of War. It's a wonderful game. I have no excuse for having not gone back to play it, but now I have an excuse to go back and play it. Yeah, now people can stop tweeting pictures of their genitalia at the developers as a way of coercing them to give them the
Yeah.
release date. Yeah, that was something we talked about last week. But yeah,
Because that
I
that works so well, It's just like, you show up to work, you start working, you get a ping on your message, you open it up, and it's somebody who's managed to, get your contact info and proceeds to bombard you with images of the things.
worked out wonderfully for Blizzard, allegedly. Activision Blizzard, allegedly. Yeah, Saib, you excited?
Yeah. I mean, I I've talked a lot how his voice actor is one of my favorite actors. I've met him frequently,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, Christopher Judd is an amazing person, and I like that he is getting a lot of success here because Hollywood has a bad habit of um, ignoring good actors that come from
Different
certain kinds of
aspects, yeah, like
yeah
TV. It's hard to make the
like
transition.
sci-fi, especially sci-fi TV, right? Like the big projects, sure, that they sort of like those people. They only like certain numbers of them, right? A certain type of them, or whatever, or like 1 out of 20,
Yeah,
and then the rest of the time they treat them like garbage. Like there's a lot of really amazing actors from the Star Trek series and from Stargate and other shows, Babylon 5, like that kind of stuff, where they're really good actors. They're smart, they're funny, they're really on the ball, they're good, they know how to like put out products and good stuff, and Hollywood just despises them for some reason. For some
yeah.
reason.
It's a weird prejudice. Like, I don't know what's the problem with letting people who work in TV or work as voice actors or any other part of the entertainment
Mhm.
industry be a part of the
Oh
movie
yeah.
spectrum.
Yeah, voice actors too. Like Christopher Judd, he's been in. I mean, he was in
Judge.
Stargate for like. Hmm.
Yeah, Christopher Judge.
Yeah.
You said
Um.
Judd.
No, that's just me. That's just me not enunciating
Oh,
properly.
okay, my bad.
No, I know his name is Christopher Judge. So, anyways, yeah, he was in Stargate for a really long time. Again, one of the best actors. And but other people, like people who do, especially like do like some of the dub stuff or just video game audio stuff, it's like some of those people are treated even like far worse, and they're just like, oh man, Hollywood is one of these weirdest like clicky things. So yeah, so aside from that, of course I'd like to see more of it, more of these kinds of products coming out from Sony to be on the PC a little bit sooner. i
Hmm.
i think that i think that it's okay to have, obviously, you want to have like your special place where you get to do your launches and stuff like that. And I don't think that's bad, but I do think it's idiotic for any developer or publisher to only put out the games on a single platform, because it just doesn't make sense. It just does not make sense, because you're only getting, at best, you're only getting 50% of the market, and that's a stretch.
Hmm.
That's a stretch. It really is. So again, why you'd only be allowing yourself to be picked up, your product to be picked up by a in most cases under between like it's like between 20 and 30% tops.
Yeah. Can you imagine
Why
it?
on earth?
Yeah.
Like, oh, just it's so weird.
It was recently announced on Twitter that Ghost of Tsushima has almost reached 10 million copies sold since 2020.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you that if it releases, which it seems like it's going to be, on PC, it will make at least 50% more. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, I suspect they probably hit like with sales and whatnot calculated over a couple of years, they probably sell just as many, or in some cases a little bit more. It really does depend. And again, it's like I don't understand why the industry has to be like this. It's confusing and weird. Yes, consoles are fine. Consoles are good, except when they go bad, and we've already seen this happen numerous times through the last 20 years, 30 years. And we don't want that to happen again. We want there to be some level of like continuation, and I think Steam does that really, really well. I think obviously PC does that really, really well in general, but it's like I want to be able to boot up a game that I played as a kid and give it to my kid to play, right? Like that. This is something that I think that I look forward to because I don't have any kids right now, so.
Right.
Or at least not that I knew of. and if there was that one time with a sewer beast. But anyways, I'm kidding.
Anyways,
we were just every Saturday morning we usually play a little bit of Quiplash, and it usually gets a little spicy. So come and join us on the Discord. It's great.
Yes, I remember the last time I played Quiplash. I think that was probably the hardest that I've ever laughed. I think one of the questions was like, "What's the one thing that you should never say to somebody from New York, or no, to a mafia boss?" And I think somebody said, "So, what are you, real Italian or New York Italian?" Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? I was going to go into the Blizzard thing, but I just found out the perfect transition into the Red Dead Redemption stuff. Can I do it? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Speaking of boy, we got another game where somebody says boy a lot, but in a different way. Moving from good news onto some bad news, but we're just going to have a full slate of good news to cap off the show, guys. Don't worry. So, Red Dead Redemption 2. It's a damn good game. The single player, at least. I never really played the multiplayer, unfortunately. I tried playing it for an hour on both PC and PS4, but it just pissed me off too much. But anyways, there are a lot of people that enjoy it. There have been some people that were really upset about the state of RDR2 online, and for good reason. The reason why is that apparently there's not going to be any more updates to the online portion of Red Dead Redemption 2. And the reason why is because based on everything that the developer, Rockstar North, has been, or Rockstar in general, has been... Oh, sorry about the noise in the background. It'll go away in a second. Based on all the information that they've been giving out lately, it seems like all hands are on deck at all their studios to try and produce the next entry in the Grand Theft Auto franchise. But there's a cost to that. The cost is supposed remakes for GTA 4, Red Dead Redemption 1, and apparently providing any updates for Red Dead Redemption 2 online. GTA 5 online is going to keep getting updates, obviously, because that is... the amount of money that game generates is more than most of the economies of the world, in the countries of the world. But yeah, so obviously, though, fans are not happy about this, especially because GTA 5 and Rockstar make so much money, you would think that they'd be able to put just a little bit more effort into their other titles. But no. So, as a way of sort of basically just acknowledging that Red Dead Redemption 2 online, as far as content goes, is dead, fans responded by doing a community event where they basically participated in a global Red Dead Redemption 2 online funeral. So, on July 13th, this was like 3 days ago, People all over the world participated in this event. They dressed in all black, went to locations in the game where graveyards were, and took pictures of themselves and posted it online using the hashtag #RedDeadFuneral. And there were some really creative ways of people expressing their grief, I suppose might be an accurate word. There was this one person, he was standing on a roof, and first, he took a gasoline can and then spelled out on the ground RIP RDRO, which is obviously Rest in Peace Red Dead Redemption 2 online. And then he went up onto the building just above this ground where he poured the oil, shot it, and then the fire lit up and spelled it out. And then, of course, out of despair, he jumped off the building. What else? There are people standing in front of graves and then just painting RDR2 online RIP on it, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And then also, just to cap off everything, just to sort of give the fans that little bit of legitimacy and appreciation, the voice actor, Roger Clark, tweeted out inadvertently acknowledging the funeral by saying the following, and he did it on the same day it was happening. He tweeted the following, quote, "Although today it has my sympathies, I know this community will never die. Hashtag Outlaws for Life." Side, it's a shame. Where Rockstar and Take-Two are going, obviously we already know. We talked numerous times about Take-Two and the scumbags that they are, allegedly, on this show. It's especially a shame because for myself, GTA 5 and Red Dead Redemption 2 are in my top 20 games of all time. I hope that by having all hands on deck for GTA 6, they'll be able to offer us up a masterpiece that was, at the level of quality that GTA 5 was, at least for the single player. I still contend that that thing is wonderful. But it's just a shame that everything else has to die just so that can be made possible. Your thoughts, Sad?
Yeah, so this company does not care about you, the consumer. They have never cared about you, the consumer, in so much as like wanting to do things for you that don't give them the optimal return rate on cash. And when I say optimal return rate on cash investment, I don't mean like, they're putting in like for every $10 they put in, they're only getting back like, 20. And they don't like that. They want to be getting back like 35 or 40 or whatever. That in some of these cases, some of these projects, some of these support for certain things are dropped because they theorize that they can be getting a 4.5% return rate on product A, and the product B that they're canceling is only giving them a 4.1. So it's not even that much. It's like roughly speaking, it's pretty much the same. And again, that's them assuming that their newer project is going to do so much better. But I've seen companies do this for a long, 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 long time. There's a lot of concepts, and if you've been around gaming long enough, you've been in and seen video games and played video games where the developers or whoever is currently sitting on that thing, they know that they could continue to make that product and people would continue to buy that product like crazy. But they think that for whatever reason they can make just a little bit more by dumping it, putting it in a vault, not touching it ever, and then just doing something else, which has been the death of more companies than I can think of off the top of my head. So this is them putting all their eggs in one basket. This is them going, oh no, we got to make sure that the next Grand Theft Auto game is going to be the best game ever since all time in perpetuity, and that this has to be done this way. And
it better be.
If they drop the ball on it, this kills them.
Absolutely.
Like it legitimately basically will kill them, because again, it's not like they could make money off of the current GTA Online thing that they have right now until
Forever.
the cows come home and pigs learn to fly and hell freezes over. But when you're a big, massive, multi-billion-dollar company and you're expected to increase your net revenue by an extra 20 to 30% every single year, which is just stupid. Like, because that's just not how it works. And again, I've known companies that have died from this. I know one guy in particular, you would know it if I talked about it. You know exactly who I'm talking about. Big famous guy, invented a big thing, a big IP, very, very successful IP. What did he do? He looked at his charts, he looked at his thing, and he said, we have to continue to double, to grow by 100% every year, year over year, over year, period. And at some point, he never stopped to think about the logic of what he was saying, because he was marketing a product to at most, you could say 40 million people. At most 40 million people. He started with 400, then he went to 4,000, then he went to 40,000, then he went to 400,000, and he just kept on going up like this. Then he reached about the 30-ish million mark, and he expected to grow to 60 million, but he couldn't. Why? Because his market was only 40 million people tops. And when he didn't hit that, all the banks, all the investors, everybody who put money into it suddenly freaked out, pulled their money, and he came crashing down. And one of the biggest IPs in the last like 20 years just hit the dirt so fast that it made everybody's head spin. Why did he do that? Because he's too stupid to realize that once he got up to that peak, all he had to do was maintain. And that's what he had to tell the board and the investors. It's like, look, we're not going to increase 100%, but you're still getting a return on your money that's decent. Anybody who's getting a return on their money that's close to 25 to 30%, that's like dream level. That's almost impossible to replicate.
Yeah, I had
for more than a few years.
Yeah.
It just doesn't exist. You're lucky. You're lucky if you're getting a 5% return, right? Like people kill for that kind of a return level. And hitting anything over that is ridiculous. And that's what these people did here. And instead of realizing, okay, we're not growing like crazy mad anymore, so we're just gonna put it in fifth gear, and we're just gonna drive instead of trying to push it into sixth gear. We're just gonna drive, and we're just gonna drive this thing. And yeah, we'll have slow growth over the next like 20 years, but it's not gonna be massive, right? Because again, there's a limit to what he could do. And that's what I feel is probably going to happen with this, is that they're going to go so hard, so ham, that they're either going to break themselves on trying to create the next game, which, I mean, we've already been seeing this with Perfect Dark and a couple other massive projects where they're like, we're going to create a quadruple or a quintuple A game. And it's like,
yeah,
okay, guys,
where's Fable? Where's Beyond Good and Evil 2?
And these are great concepts, but the concept is a lie in the sense that you would have to change the way that you're doing business. You would have to alter the way that you're doing stuff. The game out there that I think has the highest opportunity of becoming a triple A or a quadruple or a quintuple A game is probably Skyrim. Because if you manage to somehow incorporate every lore-friendly mod and every lore-friendly major project, and then you were able to combine them with the new multiplayer mod that's out, that works absolutely fantastically, by the way. And you were able to do that, and then you were able to increase all like fix all the animation and all the goofy like older animation, all the goofy like older voice chat, stuff like that. Incorporate everything. I mean everything. Out of the 20,000, 25,000 mods, you incorporate every single one of them that you can in that's like a lore friendly general like improvement overall, and then you do that again. Right? That's probably the best thing that I would think to be a triple A experience, because a quadruple to a quintuple A experience, not just the triple A experience that most people think about. It's like, so yeah, I feel that they're maybe going to try and fly a little close to the sun. I think that they've turned their back on on the people who are playing their other games, because man, that game is only going to net us a 20% bonus, whereas we think this game will get us a 22% bonus. It's that level of thinking that is going to destroy them.
Yeah.
And yeah, and now obviously a lot of the numbers are quoted today are like, don't take them super seriously. They're just there to like emphasize the problems and the issues. Real numbers and all that kind of stuff is, of course, it's going to be a little bit, it's going to be slightly different or slightly altered or whatever. So I'm not quoting real numbers. I'm just making up numbers to make the point up.
Yeah.
Right. But it's the same thing. And I can guarantee you that a lot of projects in the past have been cut down. One of my favorite games of all time was cut from what they were doing because they felt that they could swap to a new engine with a new gameplay, with a new game, with a style and content that everybody was hip about at the time. And that, again, that kills companies left, right, and center. Bunch of video games back in the day were 2D, and then those companies, when 3D came out, they said, "Oh yeah, we're going to jump over to 3D," and then they burned their entire budget, every line of credit they could get, just trying to develop the tech for 3D. So not actually making a game or getting an alpha build or a beta build. Oh no, they just blew their entire budget just trying to create a 3D engine, period. And most of them, and this happens every time there's a major introduction of new tech into gaming and also into a bunch of other industries, unless they're propped up by government, because that's the way to make sure that you stay in the past. Is like every time a new technology comes around, you guys go, you know what, we've developed this lawn mowing technology, and all your sheep and herds, they all got to go, and there's going to be zero foreseen consequences on that, right? so of course there's consequences, but it's like, how is it manageable? How can you tweak it? How can you alter those consequences? And then if you're too stuck on not saving, or on saving the past, then you get certain companies that sell us products where it's like they haven't made a decent upgrade in their products in 50 years. So getting a little into the weeds on that. But.
Yeah. Anyways, what sucks though? Yeah. It's just the way that Rockstar and Take-Two could easily get goodwill and extend the life span of a game like RDR2 is by allowing the community to make mods.
Mm-hmm. But they won't even do that because they want to, and it's not about protecting their IP. It's about protecting the access to the game and protecting the content and direction of the game. Yeah. They're paranoid that somebody's going to take one of their games and they're going to make what equivalent is to Dota, to what Warcraft 3 was. And then Dota is going to become a thing, and then a spin-off company is going to form, and they're going to make League of Legends, and suddenly a product that you theoretically had a hand in creating, but not directly, becomes one of your biggest competitors. And I really do think there's a very good chance for Riot's new MMO to take out Blizzard basically entirely. I think they're genuinely kind of close. Again, just as an outside guess right now. I haven't seen the Riot MMO.
Yeah,
I'm not super friends with Greg, Ghostcrawler. So
right,
yeah. But I think that they've really dropped the ball on this. They've let the community down, and they could have gained, like you said, right, the goodwill. But I don't think they want that, because I think goodwill. I think you had somebody. I bet you there was some variant of this conversation. Oh, sure would be a sign of goodwill if we allowed RDR2 to continue to have community support. And then somebody sitting on the other side of the table said, who was in a much higher position, said, RDR2, goodwill. Huh. No, I'm not interested in goodwill. Goodwill doesn't increase my yachts. They don't allow me to go out with more hookers and blow. No, you pathetic dumbass. I want money. money. That was the conversation.
I love how you said, like, you sounded like a coked out James Brown there for a second. Goodwill, huh. Goodwill, huh. Sorry.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
And again, it's like they think that they honestly think that way. They honestly think that way, and they're stupid because again, hundreds and hundreds of companies have fallen to the same idea of like we're going to prioritize profit over like sustaining a player base. You don't get profit when your player base leaves, and I think this is a perfect time to segue over to Blizzard.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah. Go ahead.
So Blizzard's is working on their new Dragonflight expansion for WoW. Trust the guy. Don't panic. I'm not going to be talking about WoW a lot. I'm just going to be pointing out a small thing. So don't skip. Don't leave. So WoW's working on not WoW. Blizzard's working on their WoW's next expansion, Dragonflight, and the numbers. So looking at the game itself, looking at the updates that they've done, they're finally listening to players. Like we talked about this last time, and the time before that, and the time before that, and the time before that, and it was always like, oh, they were only sort of slightly listening. Out of like the top 10 wishes, yeah, they gave a few, but they never really like look, we're gonna redesign the way that, or not redesign, but we're gonna realign how we think about making games. And we're still going to prioritize the screwing you over bit. Well, they're finally getting to this point where they realize, because they lost so many players, and they've lost so much interest and so much player interaction and community interaction and whatnot, that they finally realized that they were in big trouble because they had 2 failures back to back. And they've never had 2 failures back to back. It was always like, well, that expansion sucked, but the next expansion is going to be great. And why? Because there were so many people got kicked out, so many people left, so many people got tired of being told that they didn't know what they were talking about when they had built the freaking thing by people who came into the company who don't know how to build a damn thing. And they finally had it, and they left. And one of many reasons. Sometimes people left because it's a nightmare working there. It's underpaid working there, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Tons of these people are now working for Riot, working on their next big MMO. So I look at the game. I check out. I mean, he's streaming right now as we're recording. He's streaming right now. Bellular playing it, Asmongold Gold playing it, a bunch of other people playing it. And they all say, I'm so excited about this. This looks honestly great. They're really, actually, genuinely listening. They're changing things that people have been demanding and asking for years. They're rethinking and coming back to the new way, not the new way of thinking, but like the old ways of thinking that made the game great to begin with. It actually drove it up to like, almost 25 million players at some point. It's like they finally figured that out. But we look at the numbers in the streaming, and this is where the story is. So no more talk really about WoW. This is what happened in the streaming numbers. If you go back to Shadowlands before it was launching, you had 400, 500,000, 500,000 people watching streamers play this game. And Asmongold would have like 80,000, 100,000 people. So, he was a big piece of the pie, but then you'd have all these other streamers, all these other people playing.
Yeah.
80,000 here, 50,000 there, 50,000 there, another 80,000 there, and then tons and tons and tons of smaller content creators. Well, now those numbers aren't good. Those numbers aren't good. 100 and some odd thousand still Asmongold, but the total number of people viewing this 150,000. So that means that they went from 600,000 people tuning in on a regular basis. And the last time that this alpha phase of the next expansion hit, you had hundreds of thousands of people, almost 1 million sometimes on big days and big streaming stuff. You'd have almost 1 million people watching stuff about World of Warcraft. Now you can't even get to 100K. That's how much they screwed up.
A quarter.
And now Asmongold went from being, a tiny fraction, like a large fraction, not a tiny fraction, a large fraction of the viewers, to now being the largest, far and exceeding all of the other people streaming. So he's still gotten quite a bit bigger, and he's still he's still major presence on Twitch. But my goodness, if you're working in at Blizzard and you hated Asmongold and you hate his viewers because you think they're all like trash or whatever, the multiple times that these devs have come out and directly insulted his viewers,
Right.
directly
Well, who's laughing now?
Their players, and it's like, well, now you see that the only people who are barely interested in your product are mostly all of his fans. And then also, oh yeah, you also lost 80% of your fans completely. They're not even engaged with you anymore. You're telling me now, that now we're gonna change. Oh, nah, I think the time to change was the last time. And again, some of these people aren't here anymore. Some of them still are. Some of them got more powerful. But there were people in the company back then who looked at people like Preach and people like Asmongold and people like Bellular and said, we don't care about these people. We hate them. We want them to just go away. And then they got their wish. And then they lost all of the people who followed that. All of the people who were engaging with the product because they were treated so poorly. And some of those people are still around. They just hate anybody who they personally do not like, which is not a way to run a business. That's a way to run your friend group. It's not well, and even then you're going to run into problems. But good Lord, you've now shot yourself in the foot, and it's honestly probably going to be really bad. And if Riot can somehow manage to get this out in the next 2 years, I think they're hooped, and I think that they'll probably end up having more talent bleed off, and sooner or later they're gonna struggle, because again, it's not that they're perfect, it's that they keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again. Even when they do fix their thinking on one thing, it becomes bad in the other thing. And that's not just a Blizzard problem. That's a bunch of other problems. I'm going to segue to another story that just popped up here.
Okay.
The former EA CEO, John, just came out and said that people who implement monetization in the early creative process are some of the most beautiful and pure, brilliant people. And that they're sorry, I'm misquoting this here. Sorry. People who avoid implementing monetization are most beautiful, pure, brilliant people. But they're also the biggest blanking idiots.
Yeah.
This is what they think of you. This is what the dumbass behind some of the worst failure that EA has had. The reason why they're hated so much. The reason why other products like FIFA starting to move away from them, all this stuff, is because they can't stand you. They never liked you. They never wanted to like you. They just wanted to take as much money from you as humanly possible, as absolutely humanly possible. Even if this left you a wreck, they would be more than willing to do that if that meant bumping up their profit line. And again, it's like that's not the original concept behind capitalism. That's just crony, authoritarian, oligarchical, like two classes of people, rich people who abuse the poor people. Like, that's what that is. Like, there's no difference between that and some of the worst things that we've had to deal with. And this guy just sitting here. It's like, oh yeah, the people who don't incorporate highly addictive, predatory microtransaction monetization that continues to milk people for their absolute most that they can, that basically turns them into addicts. He calls them effing stupid, effing idiots.
Yeah.
Biggest effing idiots.
Yeah. The people that pay every single year and put hundreds of dollars into FIFA microtransactions, those people are smart. Those people are just high IQ individuals.
Yeah.
But everybody else is an idiot. Yeah, we got you, man. We got you.
Yeah. And this is I mean, it's so disgusting.
Yeah.
We should have jumped into the NFT story.
Right. Well, no, we will get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But yeah, you got talking about other insane, stupid things. What happened with Hideo Kojima?
Right. This is, I suppose it's a bad story, generally speaking, but it's also something that you kind of have to laugh at, just at how ridiculous it is. We did mention Mr. Shinzo Abe, the prime minister that got assassinated in Japan last week. What was that in the context of, by the way? Like, why did we bring him up? Oh, it was because of the Yu-Gi-Oh creator. Yeah, and people.
Yeah, the Yu-Gi-Oh creator, and it was a kind of like a 1-2 punch. And you know, some people were. It was kind of weird because some people were hopping on to, you know, Twitter and Facebook and stuff and saying, you know, my condolences for the people of Japan, and people assumed that they were talking about some people assumed they were talking about the you know, the former PM, and then other people thought they were talking about the Yu-Gi-Oh creator.
Yeah, just two very big
and
influential people.
Yeah, and both of them are correct, because again, it's like these are people who brought, for the most part, I feel, brought positive change and exploration and new things, right?
Sure.
To the game, to Japanese culture as a whole, and their own things that they were involved with, you know, as far as like their profession. And I feel that that's fine. I feel that that's very good, and I don't look down on them for that. So.
Right. But speaking of Shinzo Abe, there was obviously the coward, the bastard that killed him, which, you know, we're not going to name him. We don't want to give, you know, one of the main motivations that people do this in the first place is because they do it for the recognition. They'll be remembered for this, unfortunately, even though they shouldn't. But when the assassination happened, there was some misinformation going around as to who was the guy that did it. Now, I'm not going to tell you who the main suspect is, but I can tell you for a fact who one of the like who isn't the guy who killed Mr. Abe, and it's Hideo Kojima. No, I'm not joking. So check this out. This is one of the strangest things, and it's also kind of ironic if you know anything about Kojima and the stories he's told, which I'll explain in a minute. According to a Twitter user named Nox Dawn, he screen capped a post by a French far-right politician. At least according to him, he's far-right. I don't know. This far-right politician named Damien Rio, he retweeted a joke about the person who killed Abe supposedly being Hideo Kojima. And the reason why he made this joke was because there's a couple of pictures of Hideo Kojima. There's this one where he's wearing a what's it called, a Soviet Ushanka on his head. There's another one where he's standing next to a photo of Che Guevara. Now, if you understand the context of those photos, you understand that it's not because he's in favor of far leftism or communism, and you would know this if you'd ever played any of his Metal Gear Solid games. But anyways, this politician from France didn't know that, and so he retweeted this saying that it was Hideo Kojima who assassinated the former prime minister of Japan. And this, because of this politician's carelessness, it actually got picked up by other media outlets, including Greek mainstream news, that were also tweeting out pictures of Kojima. Now, obviously, Damien apologized following this. He acknowledged that he was careless. I mean, like that's one way of describing what happened. And you would think that everything would be forgiven, even though it shouldn't. Well, and it wasn't. You know, it wasn't forgiven. Kojima Productions, they tweeted out saying, "We're looking into legal action because of this, and any possible harm that might come to Kojima as a possibility." So good for them. The main reason why this is so fascinating, aside from the fact that it's just so blatantly absurd, is the fact that, well, if any of you guys know me and the stuff that I've sort of some of the stuff that I'm prominent for on YouTube, I've talked about Metal Gear Solid 2 a lot on my channel. My most popular video is a video called The Most Profound Moment in Gaming History. and that moment came from Metal Gear Solid 2, and the moment in question deals with the themes of misinformation, slander, a lot of the stuff that we tend to deal with to a greater degree in the digital era, and how no matter how hard we can try to sort of stave off the bad effects of misinformation, it seems like nothing's going to work. And now it seems like Kojima and some of the stuff that he quote unquote predicted in that game has come around full circle and is starting to affect him directly. That's why this is so fascinating. It's scary, but you sort of just have to laugh at it. And if you are sort of disturbed by it, I'll say the same thing that I said in that video. The best thing that you can do is strengthen your moral compass and seek out truth and try to go against your biases at every turn. Because even though the bad guys in Metal Gear Solid 2 said that a single person has the potential to ruin the world as a consequence of misinformation, well, the inverse is true as well. A single person has the potential to save it using good information. So just meditate on that. Anyways, Saib, you saw the story. What was? I imagine your reaction wasn't that much different, but anyways, what are your thoughts?
It was. I really wanted I really wish that it wasn't the Greek media that picked this up, and that it was like the Italians one, because then I could make a funny comment about the hacker that hacked the Parliament feed the other day.
Oh,
But yeah, this is what you get when you have news. I mean, anybody. I mean, we're all guilty of this to some degree. It's just some people should know a lot better because this is their job, right? So, in the case of this is their job, they're supposed to be able to like know how to deal with this kind of stuff, and they should be able to fix this kind of stuff or be on the lookout for this kind of stuff ahead of time because again, it's their job. It's what they're supposed to be doing. It's what they're supposed to be experts in. They get this stuff wrong and they can't fact check anything to save their life. It's like, yeah, that's kind of funny in a sad, miserable way. Yeah.
Well, Mr. Kojima, peace be upon you. I hope that you are able to get whatever amount of money you can from this type of slander and use that to fund your next artistic masterpiece whenever that comes out.
Sue them.
Yeah, sue them into the ground, please. Especially if they are, as Twitter user said, are further along the political spectrum. I don't tolerate extremists. Anyway, Saib, here's the deal, right? I've never played Lollipop Chainsaw. I understand it's getting a remake, so I have nothing to say to it, and I really need to use the washroom. So do you think you can speak to it for like 60 seconds?
Oh yes, of course.
Right,
Although you're gonna miss my amazing
Simping?
accent. No, you're talking about simping.
For the
you told me. I'll have you know, I'm a person of culture, and I personally believe that it is mostly due to the fact that my spirit alter ego is in fact a chainsaw wielding cheerleader. That yes, I'm really excited to see this. Now I didn't get to play this much originally on the when it originally came out, but I did watch a ton of other people playing it, and I think this game is like brilliant in the way that in a lot of the way that like Buffy was brilliant, because that was brilliant. It's this like monster stalking the streets, and what are they afraid of? They're afraid of a tiny little like cheerleader girl. I love that premise. I love that concept. I think it's brilliant. I think it's great. It's laughable in its comedic inspiration. So yeah, I think that this game is going to be great. I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm hoping that we get a full-fledged series out of this in some way, shape, or form. And who used to cosplay her officially? Like there was, it's on the tip of my tongue. She's been in the industry for years. She's like the queen of cosplay. But yeah, she was. She got in trouble for wearing one of the outfits from the game at a convention. So yeah, it's great.
You were wearing one of. I came back when I just heard you say wearing one of the outfits at a convention. You wore the cheerleader outfit at a convention.
Uh, no. I was
Oh.
gonna run. I was going to say yes there, just cause. But no. That's definitely a hardcore. No, never,
There's a
never.
picture somewhere there, guys. I'll find it.
Uh, uh,
Lollipop Chainsaw.
there's been a few. There's been a few. But I said when you left, I was like, yes, my alter ego is most definitely a chainsaw wielding, zombie fighting a cheerleader. So, it's
Mhm.
great. No, I think the premise of the game is hilarious.
It's Suda
Uh,
51, right? The guy
what?
who made it.
Oh yeah, I think so. Um,
Let me look that
but
up.
yeah, just the general concept of like, you know, blonde bouncy girl, taking out zombies. It's like it writes itself. It's great.
Sorry, I'm
But
just
yeah,
trying to look up if Suda 51 was the one that actually did that. Because I'm surprised if I think I read somewhere that that was his most popular game. Suda 51. He's
yep.
sort of like one of those auteur type game makers, and it's surprising because that's his most popular game. Yet he's made some of the most intelligent narratives in the history of gaming, Killer 7 being one of them. I highly recommend, by the way, if you want something that will blow your mind akin to something like Metal Gear Solid 2 story, Killer 7 is unparalleled. Definitely, even though I haven't played
Yeah.
Lollipop Chainsaw, I can pretty much say it's a better story. Anyways, good.
So
I'm glad.
it was so Jessica Negri was she was wearing cosplay of one of the characters. She was officially sponsored by the developers, and she was
Oh.
at I believe she was at PAX, and they kicked her out because they didn't like her outfit. And it's like, okay, yeah, you get these, yeah, it's hilarious and weird.
Yeah. Kind of reminds me of that story I heard once that Charlie Chaplin lost in a Charlie Chaplin lookalike contest.
Yeah,
Just one of those, that type of story. Um, got a couple more stories to get to. That was a positive piece of news. We're now in the positive streak that I promised you guys at the end of the story. At the end of the story, at the end of the podcast. Saib, he's going to take the lead on these last two. This next one is actually a good example of sticking it to people like that aforementioned EA former executive, and the people that seem to be running Rockstar and Take Two nowadays. So, tell us about what happened about this guy sticking it to NFTs, Saib.
yeah. So he was doing a panel called "The Future of Game Design," and this is Mark. I'm gonna butcher his last name. Forgive me. Venturelli. It's Venturelli, and I always ask your forgiveness. I didn't speak English until I was like 10. So, yeah, this guy was at a Brazilian International Games Festival. He was appearing over a stream. So he streamed. He wasn't in attendance physically, but he streamed his thing there, and he lit into gaming. He started by calling it "Why NFTs Are a Nightmare,"
Mm-hmm.
and it was a loud statement against blockchains, NFTs, that kind of stuff. I think the biggest criticism of NFTs is just go look at the people who've lost money on NFTs left, right, and center, such as that one streamer guy. He spent $628,000 on one image, and now it's worth 40 cents. Like, it's like, good job, congratulations. But yeah, if you want to watch this video, I definitely encourage you to. He lit into it, like, he just went into it hardcore. Didn't pull any punches. Um, and he just like hammered down on this, just absolutely criticizing them for every failure possible, and that's obviously extremely real. Um, yeah. So this is pretty good. I think this is one of the better things I've ever seen at a convention. encourage you to check it out. We'll have the link in the
Description box.
from his actual. He actually has a YouTube channel, so we'll link that
Yeah.
in the chat below.
By the way,
and
before
he got a standing ovation from everybody in attendance. So I really want to encourage any game company. You think that NFTs and blockchain is going to do you good? Think again. It's not.
Well, it might do them good in like the short term, but then they'll lose their audience, kind of like what happened with WoW, and then they'll be forced to like pick up the pieces for the next several years. One other thing I think we should mention is that when I was hearing the story, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Side, is that there were people that sponsored this guy's event that were pro NFT, or he was originally supposed to be doing the thing not talking about NFTs, but just generally talking about the future of gaming. But then he turned it into this thing, and then these guys tried to come in and shut the thing down, but they couldn't for whatever reason. Is that true?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. I love that. This guy is pinnacle G. Like, I want to go buy whatever this guy's working on right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, baller for sure. I'm happy to see somebody who's like standing up like this and saying, no, we can't let this happen, because you're right. If we allow this to happen, we're going to lose gaming permanently. Or it's going to just become so rotted out that you're just going to be playing indie games left, right, and center. That's it.
Right. And guys, just one little piece of advice. If you ever come across somebody who just says, oh, what's the big deal about NFTs being in gaming? Just remind them that what game developers should be doing instead of focusing on how to monetize their games is focusing on how to make the games better, which will inherently make people want to spend more money on them. Mm-hmm. At least the ones that, tend to be able to afford to spend time putting NFTs in their games. They'll still be able to make returns on their investment into making the game if they make the games good. So, moving on to the final story. This is a potentially exciting story.
Potentially. Yes. I want to stress this. This isn't good news, period.
Right.
This is potentially good news. It's also like 35 years a little late, but sure, let's go with this.
So
Nintendo.
Yeah, go ahead.
Nintendo bought out a studio that does TV shows, and I'm excited. I'm potentially excited. I should clarify that. I'm potentially excited. I really want them to do really good Mario, Zelda stuff. When I was growing up, I got to sit and watch the Zelda cartoon. And thankfully, I was young enough that I didn't realize how terrible it was. I just loved it in general. And and now I want them to do that again, but instead of just making a cringy, terrible, horrible shadow of what it is, to do it right and to do it good, and to please don't just become like, put out a bunch of like crap anime that's for like 5-year-olds, not anime, just animation, sorry, for like 2 and 3-year-olds, like give us something that's actually got like weight to it, especially the Zelda series. Man, hopes and dreams, man, hopes and dreams.
Yeah, so this is encouraging because we do know that there is a Mario movie coming out with Chris Pratt voicing Mario for some reason. If they're looking to invest a lot of their money into a filmmaking studio, this possibly indicates that the Mario movie is a lot better than we might be expecting, right? Mm-hmm. Possibly. It could be bad. Either way, I think it does make strategic business sense, because for years, I've been saying that the next big fad that's going to replace comic book movies is going to be video game movies. Because if you have good video game movies to go alongside good video games, it takes the experience that you had with the movie and extends your appreciation of the pre-existing IP. Now, Nintendo, they have some of the most, if not the most recognizable video game IPs. If they can get into the movie business and make billions of dollars off of those IPs, then all the better for them, and all the better for the people that love Mario and Zelda and F-Zero and Kirby and all these other wonderful game franchises. Hopefully, we will be able to get something quite epic, like the proper Legend of Zelda movie that we've always wanted. Let's see, what else do they have? They have Wario. Ooh, can you imagine like a Metroid, like a proper sci-fi Metroid, like Samus kicking ass? That would be pretty dope. Pokemon, like Detective Pikachu wasn't actually half bad. I'd like to see them do something more like in that universe, maybe not with Ash Ketchum, but I don't know, something involving red and blue, and I don't know. We'll see. There is one.
I mean, personally, I think anytime you have Deadpool voicing Pikachu, I think that's a win.
Yes, that's just instant money maker. Yeah.
I don't know if it's a money maker. I would just say that it's it's brilliant planning and creates memes. So yeah,
Right. Yeah, I liked Detective Pikachu enough based purely just on the fact that Ryan Reynolds voiced Pikachu, and then I want to see a Detective Pikachu too just because of it. Just one other thing that I want to bring up that does sort of make me a little bit both worried and also potentially excited. Nintendo's IPs. You wouldn't necessarily think that the pre-existing stories with those IPs would make for good movies. They're more or less just there to service the great gameplay, right? This can either be in the favor of the movies that are going to be based on these IPs or greatly against them. When making a video game movie, you have to adapt the pre-existing narrative so that it's less of an active experience and more of a passive viewing experience like you would have with the movie. When you have franchises that have minimal storytelling, like Mario, where it's basically the same thing over and over again, he has to rescue Princess Peach, or Kirby or F-Zero. I don't think there's a big story there. I might be wrong. Correct me in the comments if I am wrong. But because there is a lack of a story there, it gives creative people the incentive to just take those characters and then build a really nice story meant for a movie around them, right? Mm-hmm. But if you don't get that, then you have a movie where there's barely any story at all, and you might as well just be watching a whole bunch of visual noise. You'd be like, why would I be here at the movie watching this when I can just be at home playing it on my Nintendo Switch, right? So I don't know. They have to be very careful about that. They have to get writers on board of the quality of sort of something like Arcane. And if they do, then Nintendo's got a big win on their hands. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens with Mario and what they decide to do from there. Sai, what movie out of all the major Nintendo franchises do you want to see the most?
Oh, not Nintendo franchise, but can you imagine a Minesweeper movie? I mean, oh man, that's just the intensity, the action, the fear. I mean, it would be a very good thriller.
Tetris. I mean, yeah, low key though. I mean, from what I understand, there is like a Tetris movie in the making. Why? I don't know.
Why? That's a good question. So I'm joking, obviously, about the Minesweeper one. Although there is a brilliant college humor trailer that they did about that years and years and years ago. Excuse me. Zelda, like a really good movie about both Zelda and Link would be really, really, really good. If they could do it right, which would be really hard to do. And I'm sure my version of right is not the same as your version of right or anybody else's version of right. So that's the fear that I think is that they may not necessarily have the ability to do it properly.
Yeah, they might just not understand, but hopefully they do. One thing that I'll recommend before we close off the show, the guy they currently got attached to direct the Metal Gear Solid movie, he was once asked about how he would handle a Legend of Zelda movie, and he had a really interesting take. I highly recommend you guys check him out online. His name is Jordan Vogt Roberts. That's VOGT Roberts. And that guy, we have had a lot of really bad video game movies, but I trust him with my life when it comes to Metal Gear Solid, and that says a lot because Metal Gear Solid is my lifeblood. What was his take? He said something like, oh, he would do it like where Link wouldn't say a single word for the entire movie. And it's like, how would you do that? But the way that he explained it, if I recall correctly, he did say something really, really interesting. He's had a lot of really good ideas, and he's done a lot of...
I think that that's a good idea in a kind of a conceptual idea. But the minute that you have that character be in anything of a conversation and especially a relationship, you immediately make whatever character they're playing off of look like an absolute bloody idiot.
Well, possibly, because think about it this way.
Imagine Zelda talking to Link.
No, I get
in
it.
A conversation. She looks like an idiot.
Yes,
I agree. This guy isn't responding at all.
I agree if they do it that way, but there are ways where you can have the main character say minimal things and make it seem natural. Like, you ever see Conan the Barbarian, the original one with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yeah.
Yeah, for the most part, he rarely said anything. And that movie's awesome. Right? So, I don't know. We would have to see. Maybe if he gets on board, then we could talk about that more seriously. But yeah, it's just a concept. It's just an idea. I'm excited, cautiously, just like Sib is. Anyways, guys, that was a lot of stories. Yeah.
Wait a second. Yes, I am reminded that there already is a Zelda movie.
Oh?
Yeah, and it's pretty decent. It's called Legend, and it stars like Ridley Scott directed it, and then Tom Cruise starred in it as Link, and then
Mia Sara are you talking about?
Mia Sara was played Zelda, and then Tim Curry played the Ganondorf devil.
That movie sounds amazing, but I have no idea what the hell you're talking about.
Really?
Yeah, really.
So weird.
Tom Cruise did not. Stop. What are you doing to me, man?
No, Tom Cruise played Link. Although his name wasn't Link, it was Jack.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you should check it out. It's a very interesting film.
Okay, I'm gonna have to pick your brain after we're done this. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for... I don't know what the hell's going on. For joining us for this episode of Maximum News. Make sure you hit that like button before you go. That helps us out a lot. Leave us a comment down below if you have anything that you'd like to say. If you agree or disagree with any of the stuff that Sib and I said about any of these topics, we'd love to hear from you. I want to thank Sib, as always, for bringing his lovely insight and his obscure references to every show that we do. Sib, do you want to tell everybody about the main channel real quick before we conclude?
Yeah, check out the main channel. We got guides and video essays, that kind of stuff there, and they are that's on the Triple S League.
Cool.
And then join us on the Discord or the Guilded, whichever one you like to join, whichever one you prefer. It is honestly lots of fun talking to people. We do games, we do other things there, and we even do some like creative stuff there from time to time, which is really cool. So
right on. And you guys can just find me at all the regular normal forms of social media, just at Max Derrat. I'll put links to all that, my stuff, Sib's stuff, in the description box below. Thanks, guys, and until we do this again next week, just remember, as always, as per usual, stay yellow.